JD Group's headline earnings per share for the 4 months to the end of December are up around 14% on a like-for-like basis. The furniture retailer has changed its financial year end from August to June, and it has also consolidated Unitrans Auto and SteinBuild, which were acquired in June. Revenue increased 11.4% on a like-for-like basis to 10.7 billion rand. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. And Chris, this is your favorite stock, so we thought it's a good thing we get you on the desk because you'll be very good at actually unpacking the numbers, right?
Hopefully.
So, change in the financial year that came through for JD Group. Give us an indication of the numbers that came through. Operating profit increasing by 24%.
Yeah. Look, they're doing this. They're changing their year end to align with their new owner, i.e. Steinhoff, which is, it's a June year end. So basically, what we're seeing now is just an indication of what has happened in the 4 months from September, October, November, December. Okay, and then within that, what they're trying to do is show the comparatives on a like-for-like basis. In other words, including all of those companies that were here in the 4 months of December 2011, and the same companies that were there in the 4 months of December 2010. And by doing that, you're getting an indication as to what is actually going on at this point in time. And I actually thought they were quite good, a very good set of results indeed in many ways, because for me, what it's doing is it's saying to me that the hard work, the heavy lifting that's been put in JD over the past few years to get it right, and the new acquisitions that are coming in from the Steinhoff side of things are working very, very well indeed.
Yeah.
From my side, the earnings were okay. They didn't shoot the lights out.
Careful, Chris might get upset.
I've got to be careful what I say to Chris about JD Group. Look, the earnings were okay, as I said. Having a look relative to the rest of the industry, and a big competitor, someone like Lewis Group, is somewhat slightly cheaper on a PE basis as well as a forward PE basis, and pays a slightly better dividend yield even. But having said that, as Chris said, and as he alluded to, the fact with Steinhoff taking a controlling stake of JD Group, they currently own about 32%. They're increasing that to 50.1%, and they will take a controlling stake. They will thereby create a lot of synergies. Firstly, Steinhoff is predominantly based in Europe. It's one of the biggest furniture stores in Europe as well as in Britain, and also probably the biggest in Africa. And it will give JD Group a lot of exposure to those areas where they already are not. Most of their sales are in South Africa, and
so you happy with that? I mean, it's going to create more synergies.
Yes, absolutely. It'll definitely create more synergies, which will be good for the group. They might get preferential pricing as well in terms of furniture. So an all-round good merger or acquisition that's going through. And I think in the long term, it should bode very well for earnings. So I like it going forward very much.
Chris, do you agree with that? Steinhoff coming in 50%
Totally.
shareholder.
And all we've seen so far in terms of the Steinhoff and JD axis, if I could put it that way, is the Unitrans Auto side of things, and we saw mention of that in these results, and SteinBuild. Okay. In years to come, we're going to see an awful lot more of that.
And looking at the SteinBuild numbers as well, satisfactory results, the company says 18.8% growth in operating profit that we actually saw coming through. This is not a bad number.
That's right. Bear in mind, it's quite small. We're talking penny pinchers and Timber City in the main. Okay, that's what SteinBuild comprises. It's relatively small, but it's growing. And not only that, I mean, I think as David Sussman and Grattan Kirk, the executive chairman and the CEO respectively, have pointed out on a number of occasions, what they're going to do with those operations is take them more and more into the rural areas, offer more and more in the way of credit, offer small householders and traders, this type of thing, the ability to come and actually design their own home. So there's a lot coming here.
Yeah, just going back to that as well. So they were wholly wholesalers or retailers of furniture, and now having diversified into Unitrans, which is now the auto industry, as well as the building materials through the likes of SteinBuild, who they actually acquired from Steinhoff. So they're really looking to diversify and not wholly rely on furniture. So they're looking to diversify, which is very positive. Again, as Chris said, looking to go into the rural areas, which is obviously quite a big market, and their debts, their bad debts are actually down. So the people who are taking loans and on all their offerings and all their different products and services have actually managed to keep up with their payments, which is a very good sign.
What is also very concerning, Incredible Connection, Hiva Corporation, Price deflation seems to be a very big issue. We've got some inflation numbers coming out later on this week. There is a view, though, from an economic perspective, Daniel, that we'll actually see an 8% rise across the board in South Africa because consumers seem as if they will be able to handle a price increase. Do you think that this could actually work in JD's favour if we do actually see this price pressure pushing through? Yeah,
look, there was actually deflation, as you said, across the board in all their electronic goods and IT products from Hi-Fi Corporation and JD Group. I think with the rand where it is, it could put a little bit of a dampener on that sector going forward. Maybe Chris, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think you're right. We have seen a lot of deflation. It's the second time we've seen deflation. Back in the early to middle part of last decade, we saw it as well, and they coped with it admirably. And they did mention today there's been a couple of major trends. One of which is as a move away from notebooks to tablets, this type of thing. So in terms of actually of volumes, we're seeing volumes in many instances more than compensating for the actual price deflation per se. Yeah. So I don't think that's too problematic for them.
What about the furniture division? Is that slightly problematic? Because we didn't actually see numbers shooting the lights out. Even over the festive period, the company is saying that respectable sales of 6.5%.
Yeah, and it's, as you say, not fantastic, but it's good, and it's good, solid, sustainable business. I think with furniture, we have to understand here that about 4 or 5 years ago they made the decision to separate furniture retailing from retailing per se from the financial services side, with a view to eventually taking that financial services company, gearing it up and putting it in many more products. And for example, at some point in time we're going to start seeing things like car rental options coming through there as well. And I mentioned things like the SteinBuild offerings that will come through there. So I think furniture retail, it's fine, it's okay, but it's not necessarily going to be the thing in maybe 5 or 10 years' time that's going to be the big part of the growth of their business. I think that's going to come from other aspects of the business.
They're also looking to increase quite heavily their presence in all their retail stores, somewhat like what an Ellerines and African Bank is doing. So they're looking to increase their presence in a lot of their retail stores at the moment, so that there's a lot easier access to credit for people.
And impairments are also down.
Correct, yeah, and the bad debt. So it's looking good across the board. I mean, having to keep or to compare again the likes of Ellerines with Able Bank versus Steinhoff and a JD Group, I think the bad debts are a lot more under control with the likes of JD Group. So I think that's quite positive.
When it comes to, and let's just go back to Unitrans, because we saw the company's exceptional growth. We actually saw operating income increasing by around 33%. Vehicle sales also increasing quite dramatically. They're up around 19%. Can these numbers be sustained going forward? I know in the prospects, companies saying things are going to look better in the first half of the year because of the performance that we saw in 2011.
Yeah. Look, if you look at the NAMSA new vehicle sales figures, they weren't up by anything like that kind of percentage. But I think what it's showing you is that this company is very, very well managed. It was well managed by Steinhoff. It's well managed by JD. And I think it comes back to the point that they're focusing on what they're good at. Maybe not sustained at 33%. Okay, that's huge. But I think we can still see some very healthy growth coming out of this.
Let's look at this. I mean, we've got the unsecured loan space. We've been talking about this for quite some time on the desk. Growing quite dramatically, especially for the month of January, up around 30% year on year. There is a concern that there might be a small bubble emerging within the space. We know that has actually been driving so a lot of the vehicle sector and the durable goods sales as well. Do you think that could be a big risk?
I think one has to be careful, and we've discussed it. As we said, the big 4 banks are looking to kind of copy the model that the likes of African Bank and Capitec have done, which is really tap that uncollateralized loaning space. So I think also with interest rates at current levels and food price inflation as well as oil prices where they currently are, very likely that we'll start to see the Reserve Bank increase interest rates, which could impair bad debts and increase bad debts for the likes of the companies who do loan out debt to these sort of people.
It's a bit of caution, right?
So you've got to have a little bit of caution there.
Okay, so Daniel, hot or not for you, JD Group?
For me, I think hot. They're opening about 70 new stores in 2012. They plan to open 70 new stores, having recently acquired these 2 companies that we discussed, Unitrans Autos and SteinBuild, and also the merger with Steinhoff getting involved in JD Group. all the synergies that it should create. I think going forward, it's poised for good growth, and I'm quite positive on the whole prospect. And
So you've got no price target on this one, because
I would say around 60 Rand. I would say the medium to longer term, or not longer term, let's say the medium term price target is probably around 60 Rand, which was at the recent highs a couple of months ago. So it's currently trading around 50 Rand.
Yeah,
so I'd say
49,
60 Rand, I think, is the medium term price target on JD Group.
Chris, should I even ask you, hot or not, JD Group?
I think it's red hot, sizzling hot. Look, the best is yet to come, in my opinion, with this one. Steinhoff, as I said, we've hardly even scratched the surface in terms of the synergies between these two groups. And I think as we progress into the future, there's an awful lot more to come. Price target, I wouldn't put a price target per se on it, but let's not forget that back in 2007, 2008, this thing touched almost 100 Rands a share. And there's no...
Things looking so positive, Chris. Why have we not actually seen a recovery in the share prices yet?
I think, it's mainly institutional shareholders that drive this one, okay? And I think a lot of them remain to be convinced. But some of the arguments, some of the issues that you've thrown here tonight, I think some of those have to be addressed to their satisfaction over a period of time. But I think that will happen, and I think this is, again, it's all grist to the mill, it's all part and parcel of an ongoing improving performance.